Hi everyone, welcome to another table talk. As the title says, the topic of today's discussion is the BeeRotor Z22 or Z2207, depending on where you're from, 2780 kV motor from RC Timer. This is a line of motors from Zoe FPV. She's one of the top 3D pilots in quad flying, so she's been instrumental in helping get these motors designed. So anyway, this is one of the first quad racing motors that I started experimenting with. So I've had it for several months, and this is the original motor. I've put just over 100 flights through this motor. I've actually picked up a second one as well because I've been so impressed with its performance. So the motor, just quick and dirty, from RC Timer. The motor costs $17, $16.99 US. Based on a test that Ryan Harrell from Mini Quad Test Bench did. Its actual true KV rating is, according to his equipment, is 2630. So quite a bit lower than what it's actually rated at. But interestingly enough, that puts it exactly in the same ballpark as the Emax 2306-2750. On his equipment, he actually found out that that was a 2630 kV motor as well. So that might explain why this motor actually is very close in performance to the Emax 2306-2750, at least in the air anyway, from my experience. So for park jet use with the prop, the X mount, all that sort of stuff, it's a little bit heavier. It weighs about 50 grams as opposed to the Emax, which is a couple of grams lighter. Now I'm just going to talk about the props that I have actually tested. Since I got my new thrust stand, I actually haven't done the bench testing with these props. This is a 6x4 APC electric. It's actually a knockoff from Hobby King. I've flown it quite a bit with this prop, and also early on, this is actually a 6x3 TGS, KMP, EMP. If you buy them from Banggood, they're called KMP. If you buy them from Hobby King, they're called TGS. In the air, actually, it actually flew with comparing these two props, the 6x4 electric knockoff and this 6x3. It actually top end. It actually was faster with this prop. Again, I don't have the up-to-date test details because when I originally tested, I was still using my old crude test setup, which is nowhere near as accurate as my current one. But eventually, as I wade through all these quad racing motors that I'm testing, I'll eventually get to that. So comparatively, because since RC Plane Pirate helped me discover the 6x4 APC gas, I've been using this as sort of the standard across the spectrum of the quad racing motors that I've been testing for consistency of evaluation. And this motor performs really, really well with this prop. And it actually, I've flown it, I've bench tested it with the Hobby Wing Platinum Pro 40 amp speed controller with the custom settings that I've used with other high-end motors. I've flown it with the Turnigy Plush 40 amp, and I've also flown it with the Turnigy AE45 ESC with the custom settings of 22.5 degrees for the timing and 24 kilohertz for the PWM, pulse width modulation frequency. And interestingly enough, it actually likes on the bench and in the air. This motor actually runs best with this Turnigy AE45, which I'll get to a little. Well, actually, let's talk about it right now. Which is great because of all of the sort of high-end thoroughbred motors that I've tested, this is consistently, I haven't seen RC Timer have it on sale yet, but it's a consistently fairly low price at $17 as opposed to $22 for the Emax, and then some of the other ones like the Fox Ear Datura. I've picked it up on sale for about 19 bucks, but it's regularly 22 or 23 bucks. So this is a you know, it's a real, I think it's a real deal for the price and the power. The other nice thing is, because this is the Turnigy AE45 of all the speed controllers, you know, if you're buying it brand new, is the least expensive. So this is right now leading the pack for best value for really top end power. You know, like using the 2306-2750 as sort of the benchmark, because that seems to be the most powerful quad racing motor that I've tested thus far for my park jets. But it seems to be, it has to be optimized also using the Hobbyling 40 Platinum Pro 40 amp speed controller, which is a $40 speed controller. So that's a $62, you know, $62, $63 combo right there before shipping, whereas this is less than 40 bucks and very close. Pardon me. All right, so let's talk a little bit about just the actual bench numbers. So at 50% throttle, this is pulling about 15.5 amps, producing 620 grams or 21.9 ounces of thrust, which for me seems to really fit in. For super top performance, I've been finding that motors that consistently produce 600 grams or more at 50% and 1,000 grams or more at full throttle, you know, really give me the flight experience that I'm looking for. And then at full throttle, 100%, it's drawing 38.2 amps, but producing 1,080 grams or 38.1 ounces. So it's right up there, like top end especially. It's right up there, pretty much on par with the Emax 2306 with the 6x4 APC prop. Where this lags just a tiny bit behind is kind of that mid-range power. So it's still a very torquey motor. You know, it provides a lot of torque, a lot of pop, a lot of acceleration at mid-range, but it's just a little tiny bit behind the Emax. So that's, but you know, again, that's, you have to decide, well, you know, am I going to pay the extra 25 bucks for an Emax and the 40 amp Platinum Pro ESC, or go with this and have very close to the same power? So a little bit of a few differences in how it's constructed. It doesn't have, the magnets in it feel quite strong. I don't know if, you know, they're N50, N52. It doesn't, it's not really terribly specific on the RC Timer website. The magnets are very strong. Like when you spin the motor by hand, you can feel that the motors are, or the magnets are really strong and grabby. But it doesn't have, you know, they've really focused on you know, keeping the air gaps. I know you're not going to be able to see this, but they've been focused really on keeping the magnets, air gaps between the magnets. And I think the way that they've done that is, if I look at this one compared to some other ones, the magnet is thicker kind of this way as it sits on the wall of the bell, but it's thinner, narrower this way than a lot of them. So what that allows them to do is, rather than having it curved, because they're narrower magnets, they can fit the magnets a little, it seems like they can fit more magnets and fit them a little closer together. So it makes the, you know, it reduces the air gaps between each magnet as it's put on the bell, which helps the motor run smoothly and then keeps it more consistent pardon me, field of magnets close to the stator. The tolerance between the magnets and the stator is actually quite tight. So yeah, so that's, you know, those are the sort of things that I've learned that you know, I really want to look for in a quad racing motor, and now every motor, now that I've learned a lot more going through this process. So yeah, so very you know, it's been proven to be very durable. I never had any issues with it at all. No you know, no skipping, no cogging, no problems whatsoever. I would say probably, I'm not 100% sure, again, there's not really specific data. I would say that this is probably a 40 amp motor, you know, maybe a little bit more than that. So for me personally, I probably wouldn't push it any further, any higher than maybe 40 amps. So that might just require a little bit of testing. You know, when I've run it with this speed controller, again on the bench, it's pulling 38 amps. So in the air, theoretically, it's pulling about 25% less than that. But I've never felt it come down hot. Now I've flown it mostly in cooler weather, but I think that 40 amps is probably a good ballpark amp draw for this. So yeah, so very impressed. So like I said, this is definitely in the stable of thoroughbred quad racing motors that I've tested thus far for using in my park jet. So and like I said, the really thing the thing that it really impresses me is that it works so well. It works the best with this Turnigy AE 45 amp speed controller. Again, that you know, RC Plane Pirate helped me find, who's been instrumental in really helping me push a lot of power and selecting the right correct speed controllers, motors, and some different props. I wouldn't be where I am without his help. So yeah, I'm really, again, for less than 40 bucks, you know, if you were wanting some seriously good power, but we're a little bit more on a budget, I would have no problem whatsoever recommending this BeeRotor 2207 2780 motor and Turnigy AE 45. It runs well also on the plush, but I think the mid-range power comes up with this speed controller better, and although on the bench it actually produced about 15 grams more thrust with this, because the mid-range power is down a little bit. The flight experience, I guess the flight experience is fairly close, but again, if you're wanting to save a few dollars, if you're just starting out, these brand new, this is a version 3.1, but the new ones, Hobby King sells them for about $23, so you can save yourself, you know, a few bucks. The other nice thing about this is, you've probably heard me talk about in other videos, is that you can experiment, you know, depending on what motors you're using, you can experiment more with the timing settings and the PWM settings. This one, just factory default, works awesome with the Park Jet Workhorse, you know, 2212, 2200 kV. But yeah, so again, BeeRotor 2207, 2780 kV, just a really strong, durable, powerful little motor. So I'm really impressed with it. And again, like I said, it's right there with the 2306 from Emax, but a little bit cheaper. But thus far has proven to be a real top performer and very durable over you know, 100 flights now. Really enjoying it. So anyway, I'm going to have a supporting blog post to this video, again with some more details and links and things like that, if you're interested in researching it more. You know, if you're interested more in this motor. But yeah, it's turned out to be a great performer for me, and I'm very impressed with it. I don't get any kickbacks from RC Timer. I bought my servos from them for a very long time. They have the least expensive 9-gram and best quality, least expensive 9-gram servos that I've ever used, and I've used them for years. So there we go, folks. Thanks very much for watching. Blue skies, calm winds to everyone. Park jet noise, the other sound of freedom, baby. Take care.